The Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, Justice Edwin Cameron, says he doesn't believe that tougher laws and longer sentences are necessarily the answer for dealing with gender-based violence. Justice Cameron, I really do not want to put words in your mouth, and I know that a lot of things can be lost in translation. I've had the chance of reading the piece that you have penned together, you know, commemorating Women's Day. But you know, I'd really just love to hear from you in your own words. What is the argument that you're making around the sentencing of perpetrators of gender-based violence and how that might need to be changed in order to actually deal with the problem and reduce the violence that we're experiencing in this country?
Kathy, first of all, thank you very much to you and to Newzroom Afrika's viewers. I'm very pleased to be a visitor on your platform. Kathy, let's start with the extent of the problem. It is absolutely lamentable. We are one of the worst countries in the world. People like me, men, we are brutal, we brutalize women, we kill women, we abuse them, we rape young girls. We are terrible perpetrators in South Africa, we men. So, as President Ramaphosa rightly said, that South Africa is one of the unsafest places anywhere in the world to be a woman. So we have to start off with acknowledging the absolutely mind-boggling state of the problem. And then we've got to say, what do we do about this? We have got a society that we've got to fix. We've got the insurrection and riots of last month. We've got huge disparities. We've got huge inequalities. What do we do about this specific problem of the way that people like me, men, abuse, break, beat, violate, murder women? And to explain my argument, Kathy, allow me to go back a bit in history to the first Mandela Parliament, which had a Justice Committee chaired by someone called Johnny de Lange. And they made a terrible mistake. They introduced harsh sentences instead of looking at the root causes of the problem, all social problems, and they thought that harsh sentences were going to be a quick fix. So from Advocate Johnny de Lange's Justice Committee in 1997, 1998, we got terrible life sentences for almost anything imaginable. We had 400 prisoners serving life sentences in 1995. Today, Kathy, we've got 17,000. I have not yet met a Department of Correctional Services personnel member who supports these completely misdirected, exaggerated, misplaced sentences. And why is that? Because they don't actually address the problem. Now, it's known throughout the world that long sentences do not bear any relation to dealing with a crime. What deals with crime is the certainty on the part of the perpetrator that there will be follow-up. There will be a policeman or a community member coming to your door. There will be an arrest. There will be an appearance in court. There will be a charge sheet. There will be a trial. There will be a sentence. But in none of that does the length of the sentence play almost any role. So it's a terrible thing to say, but if we could find every single rapist, every single person who assaults a woman, every single murderer of a woman, and assure them that they will go to jail, let's pick any random figure, maybe 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. That will stop abuse and rape and murder. It's not selecting a tiny handful of rapists as we do every year, of murderers as we do every year, and sending them to jail for life. What those long sentences do, Kathy, is they give me, politicians, judges, lawyers, commentators, academics, lawyers, the elite, they give us comfort. Oh, good. Throw them away, lock them up and throw away the key. It's a false comfort because it doesn't actually help the root causes of the problem.
So part of the difficulty, Judge Cameron, is the fact that when we're looking at prosecution rates in a country like South Africa versus the scale of violence against women, there is a huge disparity between the two. if we are not anywhere close to even prosecuting half of the cases of violence against women in this country, can we even begin to have a conversation that says, for those few, and you've mentioned it, those few that actually get through the criminal justice system where there are successful prosecutions, that they should have shorter sentences, given our context as a country?
Well, Kathy, you're putting your finger on it, because what we need to do is to get, and this is a long, hard task, National Director of Public Prosecution, Shamila Batoy, has started it. It's a long, hard task of repairing the prosecution service. We've not even begun to repair the police service yet, a police service that really serves us. But you are absolutely right that it's pointless and it's misdirected, and it's energy wasting in the wrong direction to take a tiny proportion of all these cases of abuse and violence and rape and murder and impose excessive sentences on those we catch, when most male perpetrators of GBV, gender-based violence, get away with it. So you've put your finger on it, but I'm scared you're going to ask me the next question, Kathy, which is, what is the solution? Are you going to ask me that, Kathy?
I was eventually going to go into it, and I just want us to stay with this issue of the length of sentences just a bit longer. Oftentimes, when we see the mitigating and aggravating arguments within court proceedings, we very much hear the perspective of the victims and how they have been affected by these crimes. It flies in the face of the work that is done by so many activists who gather in this country's courtrooms on a day-to-day basis, insisting that those that have been arrested and prosecuted and convicted of crimes against women should have lengthy sentences as a way of sending a message to society.
And I respect that, Kathy. I think we have to send a message. Men who do horrific things to women should face horrific consequences. But to send a tiny proportion of those men to jail for life or for 15 years or 20 years is ineffectual. We've got to go back into our own consciences, our own communities, our own resources. What do we do to find out what is more effective? And I'm not saying that people who feel aggrieved. You know, Kathy, you read the stories of a man on parole who has been paroled after child murder or child rape, and then goes and does the same thing on the weekend that he's released from prison. We had a story like that last year. The Minister of Justice, the National Commission of Prisons, I as Inspecting Judge of Prisons, we hang our heads in shame, because what can we say to those community members? Even when people say to me, I want the death sentence, I hang my head in shame, because I cannot say to that person, your thirst for justice, your thirst even for vengeance is misplaced. I keep quiet in those moments. But the more difficult task than satisfying someone's thirst for vengeance or for justice is fixing the problem, which lies in our police services, our national prosecuting services, our community services, and the certainty of prosecution and the certainty of sentencing rather than long sentences.
Judge Cameron, I'm going to choose my words carefully here, because I also take into account the fact that the opinion that you're making is based also through the work that you've contributed to this country as a judge. Is it then not premature to be talking about the length of sentences when we can hardly convict all of the perpetrators of these crimes? So we're barely at a point where our conviction rate of violence against women is anywhere close to satisfactory.
I think that if I'm understanding you, Kathy, you're saying, well, why don't we deal severely with those that we do convict?
No, no, no.
arrest.
I'm saying before we can talk about having shorter sentences for those who have been convicted, should we not firstly be focusing on making sure that at least the majority of, if not all, those that have committed these crimes are brought to book and taken through successful prosecutions?
Yes, yes. And I think you're right there. If I'm understanding your point rightly, Kathy, yes, we should be doing that. And Kathy, can I deflect our conversation? You know, President Zuma appointed a man, Mr. Richard Mbluli, who is now convicted of a terrible crime and also involving a woman victim, as head of crime intelligence. It wrecked those years, 7 years, I think it was, absolutely wrecked crime intelligence. Our police force has had a succession of controversial, misplaced, or incompetent commissioners. I'm not speaking about the present commissioner, even though many people say exactly that of him. I don't know, so I'm keeping an open mind on that. But we've got to do the tough task of fixing our police force. We've actually got enough police people. We've got more than 100,000, 140, 50,000 police personnel. We've got 450,000 private security personnel. What we need to do is to train people, to direct them to proper performance of their jobs, and to give them the resources to do that. So to get back to your point, which I'm not avoiding, Kathy, yes, we have to make sure that every woman who lays a complaint, every woman who calls the police station gets a response, gets support. And you know what, Kathy, the good news is that you may think, your viewers tonight may think our country's in a mess, and I'll say yes, about parts of that I agree with you, but there's nothing we cannot fix. You, me, our viewers together. Look at what we're managing to do after a lot of fumbling, a lot of incompetence with the vaccine rollout now. We're eventually getting it right. I know that because I got my 60-plus jab. My partner, who's just over 40, got his 40-plus jab. And look at the antiretroviral treatment rollout, Kathy. We had a President Mbeki, who denied even the causes of AIDS and refused to start an ARV treatment program. We've now got the world's largest publicly provided antiretroviral treatment program, and I'm proud. I'm one of 5.5 million people whose lives every day depend on taking our ARVs faithfully. So the point I'm making is that there's a lot that's terribly wrong and broken and incompetent and dysfunctional and corrupt with our country, but there's nothing that you and I and our viewers together cannot fix with the proper leadership and with a proper vision and with the proper capabilities, with proper appointments, not incompetent, corrupt employees. We can get it right in the police force. We can get it right at community service level. So, Kathy, thank you for indulging me for saying that, because I do want to discuss these. There are many other points I make in the opinion piece that you read so carefully. The one is that you send a rapist into prison, and what happens to him? He may get raped. Or you send someone in for drug dealing, which is a completely misconceived crime. We should not be treating drug use or drug trading as a crime. It should be treated as a public health issue, like alcohol abuse and cigarette abuse are treated. So you send a drug dealer or someone who uses drugs into jail, what comes? They see people raping. There's a prison culture of macho masculinity, abuse and domination in our prisons. This is a fact. And then you send people in there and you expect them to come out and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong to be a rapist. We do the opposite. Our prisons are overcrowded. Too many long sentences, too many crimes. For example, if we did what Portugal and other countries have done and abolish all drug-related crimes, we would start to deal with the Cape Flats gang culture. That gang culture depends on misdirected crimes. So I'm coming back to our point, which is, do long sentences help us with our terrible national malaise of gender-based violence? The answer isn't that they don't. The answer is that they don't. And the other part of the answer is that we can do better. We really can do better, and we should be doing better for all of the women in all of our communities.
Provocative as always, Judge Edwin Cameron. Pleasure being in conversation with you, the judge of the Correctional Services Judicial Inspectorate Directorate. Okay, I've just added a whole lot of other names to that title, but yeah, Judge Cameron joining us there.